Alright, so here's a quick demo focusing on layers, and particularly opaque layers. We don't really do that in Dogwaffle, as you may know, but we have a couple of ways to work around it. Here I'm going to explore some of the layer modes. Let me go and minimize this one here, and you see the layers. Right now I don't have any layers, I have just one layer 0, and I've painted some winter branches in the background and some batty grass in the foreground, and maybe I'm going to add a few more things, some flowers or whatnot, or maybe we'll keep that for a separate layer. But what I'd like to do now is put another layer on top and another one behind it. So one thing I'll do first is I'll add a layer, and right here you see it, and what I'll do is I'll move it down below. Okay, so I'll move it down, there you go. And this layer I want to use, let's say the background sky. So I'm going to go to this filter. You might be painting it, or you might want to just render it here with the render filter, sky. And you'll see it right there. Now, you may not notice it too easily, but it's actually kind of a semi-transparent. Let me OK that here. It's kind of a semi-transparent. It's multiplying mode, right? The layer we have here is multiplied to the sky layer, so the grass and the shrubbery is not opaque. The default mode is a multiply mode. But what I can do is render it into against a background which is a different color, a specific color, like blue or green or magenta or pink. So there's a couple of colors that I can key on. Let's say if I have that color, it's opaque, but anything else it's transparent, and anything else it's showing the opaque color of it. So essentially what I would have to do is to render this layer initially on not a white background, but something like a background that is perhaps pink, and then set the color mode to actually look for that. So you see here the choice is blue screen or green screen. Obviously I don't want to use a green screen because there's a lot of green in my painting here. I could use blue. There's probably not a whole lot of blue, but even that I might want to stay away from. Better probably use the magic pink. Alright, so or drop magenta. I'm going to use magic pink. And now what that means is that essentially I need to find a way to draw all this on a pink color. If you do this smartly, we actually initialize it in pink and then start drawing on top. Now we didn't do it that way, so maybe we can still fix this. And one thing we can do is go pick it up here as a custom brush. So click here and go pick it up as a custom brush with white being the background color. Okay, so you make sure you see white here as the background color, and then if you pick it up like that, it should make the white part transparent. I got the preview mode here. I can set it to opacity for full opacity on the brush. It still has a little bit of a white edges there, so we could work on that. And what I'll do is, let's see, first of all, let's store that brush. There you go. And then perhaps adjust the colors a little bit here. Let's right click on the same custom brush selection tool and select or adjust a little bit so we get rid of the white edges there. Right? So at this time, yeah, this looks better. So we can now go and let's store it first here. So we have this brush. This one we don't need anymore. We have this brush that we want to use, and we want to use it over a background that's not white, but instead that's pink. So that's the trick here. We're going to set it to magic pink on the layer mixing mode, and that means it's going to look for any pixels that are pink, and if they are pink, they will be transparent. Any other color will be opaque. And so what we can do is erase. We need to right click here, or maybe we can just set the color red and what is it, blue. There you go, and 0 for the green part. That's the pink. So now we drag that into the secondary color, so it is the erase color, and we can go and erase. Right click here and say erase to secondary. Actually, I guess we could have done that differently, but anyway, now it's erased to secondary. You can see it right here on the layer number 1 that's on top of layer 0. Layer 0 has a sky, and layer 1 is erased to pink. But because it's in magic pink mode, it also says, oh, pink is transparent, anything else is opaque. So if I'm going to paint this brush on top of it here, on this layer 1, let's see what happens. There you go, it's opaque. Okay, so any color, you can see it right here. Let me make this a little bit larger, like jumbo thumbnails. You can see that the background is still pink because we didn't touch it. So when we initially erased the whole image to pink, it made it fully transparent everywhere. And the moment I paint something in it that's non-pink, that one becomes opaque. And so that's how we can get this particular shrubbery image appear in opaque mode. The picture down below, the sky, is there, and now we might want to have something else on top. This time I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to add that layer not to be pink. So by default right now it erases it to pink because that's our secondary color. What I'm going to do this time, I'm going to say let's use green. So I'm going to say we're going to need to use a green screen mode. And what that does, first of all, let me go and get rid of this preview modes. Okay, so it shows now the pink as it is, and I don't want to erase it to pink. Instead, since I'm using the green screen mode, I really need to erase it to green, saying that I will not use any green. So let's get ourselves a nice perfect green color. No red, no blue, just plain green. And you know, we don't really have to make this a secondary color. All we got to do is right click here on the erase tool and say elect to the primary, selected or clear the selected to primary. And bingo, the moment we set it to green, well, we cleared it to green, because we have the green screen mode as the layer mode, it's going to green screen it, meaning that if it finds green, it's transparent, and anything else, it's opaque. What could that anything else be? Well, it could go, for instance, it could be another object that we paint on top, right? I mean, it could be, let's say we put a blue rectangle there. There it is, blue rectangle, bingo, opaque. Maybe a different color, just anything that's not green, right? Maybe a yellow. There you go, there's a yellow. Maybe a reddish color. Okay, so whatever color you use, as long as it's not green, it's going to appear opaque as if we have the green screen mode as the layer mode here. Now there is a couple of other things we can do here, and that is perhaps we want to add, let's say we want to add a bright sun here with the lens flare effect. That one would possibly call for yet another layer mode. So right now we have a couple of layer modes here. This one here is the magic pink, this one here is the green mode, but we could also make this one an additive mode. In the case of an additive mode, instead of keeping it green, what we should do is erase it to black. Alright, so we right click here and say erase the selected to black. That way it's not adding anything, right? Because it's an additive mode, it's going to, if we add 0, if we add black, it's not adding anything. Black is the same as 0, it's not changing it. But what we can do now is on this image also draw, let's see, the right click here on this linear tool, and you can draw the lens flares. So when you go to the lens flare tool, you'll see a couple of presets. You can also go, of course, into making your own. But what I'll do is I'm going to grab this one and put the lens flare, the bright spot right here. And you see it's an additive mode. Okay, and so that way it's going to just brighten the picture rather than modify it in a replace mode. It's going to add to it because we are in additive mode. Alright, so that's another thing you can do here. So you can use these layer modes in additive mode, and that's it. We're done. We now have 3 layers. One was added on top in additive mode. One was the original image that we re-rendered on top of the pink mode, and then down below is just the lower level. And of course we could always add another layer on top of that, and move it down. So we could move it down all the way down to the bottom edge. So now we have a pink here. Maybe we'll erase that to black, and there it is. so that the background is totally black. And then that means we need to make this color here a little bit different. This layer we could possibly also make it an add or a, let's see, add will work. There you go. So now we have 4 layers. Let's see if we can see them a little bit easier. There you go. So here's the 4 layers. We do have a layer at the very bottom that's black. Basically, on top of that we have a layer that is additive, and then we have a layer here which is using the magic pink, so that any pink elements remains transparent, any non-pink elements becomes opaque and is seen therefore as such. And then on top of it we have the layer which is back to an additive layer. Alright, well, hopefully that will give you some ideas of how you can use multiple layers with images that can coexist in a opaque mode as long as you use the proper color blending modes, such as blue screen, green screen, magic pink, or drop magenta.